Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the When Words Fail Music Week's podcast, where we fight depression with the power of music. I'm your professional handicapped host, James Cox. And I have another episode. I got another interview today for y'all to listen to. We have Matt Whitehead from the band Shun, Shun. But first, before we bring them on, let me tell you about them, or about the band too. So behold Shun as they are truly a force to be reckoned with. A four-piece band. The band made their self-titled debut through Small Stone in 2001, and this mental, which is coming out really, really soon, continues several crucial threads in terms of songwriting, the returning production of Jay Robbins, who also does drums and guitar and synth and so on, while expanding their scope with a more refined crunch and drifting ethereal outreach. It is a heavier and paints on a broader landscape in Matt Whitehead's vocals and guitar melodies, which I love. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I got, hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Is that so? What I just said, is that like partly true, or did I mess up the whole
That
Bible?
was mostly true. So
Mostly,
the
okay, all right,
the one thing that I'll say is Jay Robbins did record and produce this. He did add a little bit of background guitar on one song.
okay,
He did add a synth part in one song, but that's it.
okay,
And
nice. Yeah.
and then we sort of worked with him with the first record, but the first record was really recorded at home,
Right.
kind of recorded remotely, and he mixed it.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. I do have a thing to ask you about the drummers. Um, you have, well, it says, oh, okay, never mind, because you have, okay, so Jay Robbins plays percussion, which is kind of like a drummer also, because it says,
Oh,
because it says Rob Lee is your drummer, but then it
yeah.
also says Jay Robbins is a percussion, he does synth and guitar. So in the percussion element, what does he do?
Well, he did. I think it was some tambourine. He did it on a
Gotcha.
song or two. That was it. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So percussion
yeah,
can be anything. I just meant, yeah.
yeah.
I just thought you had like two different drummers. Like you had two.
No, no,
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, man. Yeah. Yeah.
no worries.
Yeah.
Sometimes Rob's a great drummer. Sometimes he sounds like two drummers.
Yeah. Which is great,
Yeah, yeah.
because I'm sure he
Mm.
plays now. Now does he play with double bass or single bass?
um, he has a double bass pedal.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think if he ever uses it. I think he does use it maybe once or
Okay.
twice, but
Yeah. Well, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
he does it a lot at practice, just joking around. He comes from a much more metal background
Right.
um than maybe the music would sound like, I guess.
Yeah. That's yeah, and thank you for mentioning that because that's one thing that I wanted to bring up because it says it also says in the bio if you read on it says that you are like shoegazy
Mhm.
metal. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but then again, I read that you're metal rock or classified as stoner metal. So which one is the real deal?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like,
Okay,
I guess
all the
we all want
above, right?
to categorize things,
Yeah.
and I'm not really good at keeping track of all the subgenres. Are we heavy rock? Are we
Right, yeah,
atmospheric post rock? Are we
yeah.
post metal, heavy shoegaze with a twist of lemon? I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, yeah, we see the words stoner and things like that pop up a lot.
Yeah,
We're
I don't buy that you're stoner. I mean, I love stoner metal, but I mean, Orange Goblin is more stoner metal than
right.
you
Yeah,
are. And the
yeah,
stoner metal, for anybody who doesn't know, it's kind of a sludgy, kind of
yeah.
groove, but that's not you. That's not
No,
doing
no.
it at all.
Uh, respect it. Been around it a long time from my earlier band and everything, but it's not really something that we enjoy to play ourselves. So.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. And I see, which I was excited to interview you today because I see on your schedule y'all are coming to Columbia, South Carolina. Guess who's in
Yes.
Columbia? I
Oh, is
yeah.
that right?
Yeah, sir. So I'm definitely going to come see you on the 26th at New Brooklyn Tavern.
27th. The show has been
27th.
moved.
Okay,
Yes.
because it says 26th. So
Hmm.
thank you for that.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
so this is the first time ever I'm going to be stepping in the new Brooklyn Tavern. You know.
Same.
Okay, yeah, okay. So you've been
Yeah.
to the old one, correct?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I used to live in Columbia, and
Okay.
my previous band, Throttle Rod, we started in Columbia, South Carolina, and in fact, our new guitar player was also in that band with me. So we have played New Brooklyn Tavern a million times,
Yeah.
you know, over the years.
Yeah.
The
Because
old one,
right.
never
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The old. Yeah. But the last time I went there was a couple months ago, and the last band I saw there was Crowbar, and I'm sure you're
the.
familiar with that. Kirk Wannstedt,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a great show. Um, but yeah, there's been so many bands that try to keep that try to keep New Brooklyn with that. I forget what band it was, but they helped to raise money for their merchandise to go towards New Brooklyn, just so they could stay at their old place, you know. But I
Yeah,
don't know why it's closing. You know, it's sad, but
yeah,
but I'm excited to see the new one. You know.
yeah, yeah. Same here. It
Yeah.
sucks that old location was just great. It was,
Yes.
one of my favorite just dirty rock venues in the
Yes.
whole country.
Yes.
Um, so it's an end of an era, but hopefully this new location works out.
Right. Yeah. Because New Brooklyn to the Carolinians is kind of like the Orange Pill. It's kind of like the all of the other like the New York staples that you would go to.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's our staple is New Brooklyn. Um, okay, so I want to ask you something kind of weird that you probably not got asked before.
Okay.
Album covers. Okay.
Yeah.
So, according to you, what is the best album cover that you've seen, the worst album cover, and the weirdest album cover?
Oh man.
Because there's
Yeah, that's
so many.
definitely,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
The best album cover. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
That's a fantastic question. I don't know how to answer that.
Right.
I don't have anything to reference in
Okay.
this room that
Okay.
I'm in
So
here.
we're gonna take
Um,
away the best and say just the coolest. You know,
Coolest,
if that works better.
coolest.
Yeah. I can give you mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And, Death, the band Death.
Hmm.
Their album cover, Leprosy. Coolest cover ever, I think. You know,
Yeah.
with that guy just in the background, just, you know, I don't know. Yeah. That
Yeah.
and the Cannibal Corpse album is pretty weird, you know, cool too.
Yeah.
Weird
Definitely,
and cool at the same
definitely
time.
out there.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, I guess just the top of mind. I mean, I guess the band Tool has done some really crazy things with album art before. I kind of grew up, so to speak, on metal. So I guess some of the when I think of metal, I think of Metallica, Master of Puppets, and I
Mm.
always thought that was a super cool album cover. I don't know. Art is really important to me. That's why that's such a
Okay,
difficult
nice.
question to
Yeah.
answer
Yeah.
because there are just so many choices. I'll
Now,
be lying awake at 3 o'clock in the morning and think, oh crap, I should have said that.
damn James,
Um,
right? Yeah. But
yeah.
but yeah, but the weirdest cover I've ever seen in my life has got to be the Stone Temple Pilots Purple album with the baby
Hmm.
riding on the dragon. I think that's the
Yeah.
weirdest one ever. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Can you think of any weird, you know, creepy or you know,
Yeah, a lot.
yeah,
Well, yeah,
or
you
something?
mentioned Cannibal Corpse. They've got some pretty messed up stuff from
Yeah.
you know, what is it? What is it called? I'm drawing a blank on one of
I
their
think it's
first couple of albums.
Eating Back to Life, Vile. Butchered at Birth is a
Butchered at Birth. That's what I'm trying to think
yeah,
of. Yeah,
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 because
yeah,
of course with the little babies. Oh my God, yeah, that's
yeah,
horrendous. You know.
yeah. It's a little much for me.
Yeah, I don't. In today's standards, I don't think that they can get they would be able to get away with that one. You know,
Yeah.
nowadays. You know,
Hmm.
but then again, they had to come up with the cleaner alternative covers. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so let me ask you about your band because we're here for you and your band,
Mm.
Shun. Um, now, when you were uh, so let me see how the way I want to word this. Rob, Jeff, Jay, and Bo are those like? Did you meet them in like high school, or like how did you find them to form this band? Because you find
Well,
because you find members all different ways, you know.
yeah. Well, to be clear, Jay is not part of the band.
Okay,
Um,
okay,
yeah. No, Jay is. Well, we can get to that, but Bo. So Bo Leslie is our new guitar player. He did not play on the album. We were sort of talking to him at the time, and there was not going to be enough time for him to learn the songs and come record this. So he sort of pretty much joined right after we recorded. He just didn't feel like he had enough time. Uh, Bo and I go way back to high school, and we played in this is our third band together.
mm,
Um, but since he's the newest member, I guess I'll kind of focus on the core of the band. Jeff Balkum, he's the bass player. He and I played together in a band just prior to this, and it really just wasn't getting off the ground very well. And he had always raved about this guy Rob Elzey, who is the drummer in another band that Jeff had played in, and he had introduced me to at one point. And Rob and I kind of hit it off, and every once in a while, I would send him songs remotely, just random things I had written. And this guy would send drums back sometimes in a couple of hours, and it was pretty incredible.
mm,
And so, one thing led to another. Jeff's and my band was kind of falling apart, and Jeff called me up and said, "Hey, I'm starting to jam with Rob again. Why don't you come up and play?" And at the time, there was another guitar player. This was all pretty new. A guy that had moved to Asheville, North Carolina, from Chicago, I think. So the band kind of started in the Asheville area or the Western North Carolina area, and I was kind of commuting. And at first, it was just something to sort of keep the chops up, and we were jamming every once in a while. And then at the end of, I guess that would be 2019, we decided to record a demo just to sort of take stock and see what we had. And we recorded, I believe it was the first weekend in March 2020, we got together and and just kind of captured the drums for 6 songs, I think.
right,
And and Jeff did his bass a few days later, but then the next week all the COVID stuff escalated in the area, and so we paused. And luckily, over the years, I have a fair amount of experience doing what I need to do with Pro Tools. I'm no expert, but I can certainly record and edit and things like that. And so I just decided to start recording my stuff by myself, and it was really funny. I did all of my guitars with one amp that was sort of tucked away in my bedroom closet. And at one point, I didn't have a mic stand that would fit the cabinet, and I tied it to a boot. And it was. I wish I had taken a picture of that because it was funny. But
right,
but I thankfully I had some very forgiving neighbors because I'm sure that was really loud.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I knocked all those tracks out and I recorded vocal ideas just sort of as I thought about them,
yeah.
and it just so it was a kind of this remote recording kind of thing, and we didn't think all that much about it. Like I said, we were just kind of seeing what the songs sounded like, and then I sent them to Scott Hamilton, who owns Smallstone Records, with absolutely no expectations. I wasn't even sending these demos to him saying, "Hey, was this something you want to put out?" I'd become friends with the guy over the years, and I was just sending it to him to say, "Hey, here's something crazy we were working on almost remotely." And it turns out he said he liked it a lot, and he asked if we could churn out 3 more songs, and then he would put it out. All right. So at that point, we wrote 3 songs completely remote from one another.
Yeah.
So not ideal, but we made the most of it. And in the meantime, I was talking to my friend that plays in the band Lamb of God, and we were talking about, we've been friends for a while. We were talking about some, doing some things and all that. And for some reason, I sent him one of these songs. I guess it was the more metal song at the
Yeah.
time, and he, what were we talking about? I guess I'm not really sure how it came about, but basically, he just asked me, like, "Do you mind if I just play on it?" And I was like, "Sure, sure,
Yeah.
famous metal musician."
Right. It's like, yeah, dude. Yeah.
let
Yeah.
me think about that.
Yeah.
No, but so it was
Yes,
it
please.
was really funny.
Yeah.
So he recorded that, and it was funny. Is it's not even our favorite song, but of course he came back and we all just laughed. I mean, how
Yeah.
awesome this thing was. And he worked on it, one Saturday morning, and he called me and said, "All right, I got this idea. It's going to go here and go here." And I was like, "Sounds good, man." He sent it to me like
Amen.
30 minutes later, and it's just
All right.
hilarious. And the guy is so incredibly good.
Am I allowed to say his name on here? Because I know exactly who you're talking about.
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't know if you
Yeah.
wanted to keep it just secret, because it's like a guy, Mark Morton, right?
Yeah.
Mark. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So he just released the book, and I got it. I need to read it, But
Oh, yeah.
I love so much of Lamb of God. I met him a few
Yeah.
times. I met Mark one time, but that was just like after the show,
Yeah.
way back when. This was back in 2005, maybe when he did.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah. So how did you and him become friends, if I might ask you?
Well, really through my wife, I guess.
Nice.
So I was in where was I? Where was I? Columbia, South Carolina.
Right.
Um, with my band Throttle, and we all moved to Richmond, Virginia at some point, 2001 maybe, and it just was a good jumping off point because Richmond, Virginia, there's a lot of creativity there. There's a lot of great bands that come from that area, and it was a good jumping off point to tour. We were
Yeah.
touring a lot, so it's kind of halfway in between Columbia, where we were doing pretty well, and then New York City, 6 hours north, Columbia 6 hours south. So it's just really well positioned on the East Coast to hit a lot of places, in fairly easy driving distance. And so I lived there for about 10 years, and we mostly toured and things during that time. So I didn't really get out all that much, I guess. And then when I met my wife to be, she was born and bred Richmond, and then so she grew up with all these guys, and very much she was a part of the music scene, particularly on the punk rock side.
Right.
So Mark and his wife at the time, we all lived in the same neighborhood,
Oh, okay.
and so we would just we just got together and hung out, and he knew, I assume, I hope he knows that Lamb of God, I think they're awesome. Do I
Yeah.
know much about them? No. Like,
Oh,
to me,
okay.
it's just a
Okay.
dude.
That's coincidence, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
And we went to go see them play when they came through here in Greenville. It wasn't that long ago, maybe a year or
Oh,
two
yeah.
ago.
They come
Um,
up here a lot. Not the
yeah,
Columbia, but yeah.
and I think seeing that, you really appreciate how big this band is. Yeah,
Yeah. The
we were kind
view.
of blown away. We were like, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh!"
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the bass player, John, he used to be our bartender at one of the bars in Richmond. Before they
Nice. Yeah.
were
Before they got
really
big. Yeah. Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
Uh,
So yeah. Yeah, so I lived in Richmond for 10 years, and then I moved to South Carolina. Oh my gosh, when was that? 11, 12, 13 years ago
really?
now?
Okay.
Doesn't seem like that. Wow.
Man, I don't know about you, but the weather is atrocious here.
Oh, it's
Especially
awful.
now. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, especially in Columbia, the hottest place on earth.
Man,
And
yeah, Columbia is not. It's because I think it got to like 101, but it felt like 135 or something.
yeah,
Like horrendously heat. Thank
yeah.
God my air conditioner works. you know. So
We're thankful every day that our air conditioning hasn't crapped out because it usually happens about once a year,
Oh no.
and it hasn't happened this year yet. I'm
No.
sure it's coming.
Well,
August probably.
if it will crap out, hopefully it'll crap out in the winter because you don't need air
Yeah.
conditioner in the winter.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Okay, so I would like to talk about albums now.
Yeah.
Shun came out in 2021, and Dismantle comes out in 2 days from now, which is
Yes.
the 19th. Okay, so can you tell us if there was how was it feeling recording the first album as opposed to this one, and what's the major do's and don'ts of each album that you
Mm.
recorded, or worst to best.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, the first one that we did, as I said, they were just meant to be demos. And
okay, yeah,
on the one hand, you have too much time to think about it when we were just all remote and nobody knew what was going on with COVID. And so we were all
right,
kind of quarantined. And on the hand, you kind of have too much time and you can nitpick things. And that's not always a good thing. That's not the way I generally operate.
mm,
But 9 times out of 10, I like to treat music like a diary. And if I start to write a riff, I like to finish it right then and don't mess with it. And
mm,
so that's kind of my approach. So we had maybe not as much of that. And we had another guy, the other guitar player, and he would write songs. I would write songs. Um, it was kind of like, here's mine, here's yours. It
yeah,
wasn't super collaborative,
okay,
not as much as I think we all would have liked, including him.
right,
And so this time around, he's no longer in the band, and for one reason or another, it just things happened fast once he was kind of gone.
yeah,
And it's not taking away anything from
mm,
him. It's just sort of
right,
just the
right.
dynamic that
Just
happened. And
right, it just sort of
it,
happened that way. Yeah,
so we basically we had kind of all written one of the songs, and we had tinkered with some other stuff, but like nothing was happening. It was just so slow and painful. And then I think he left the band, and it was either December or very early January of last year. And then in 6 months, we had a new record, and we just cranked out the songs. And I think we just had more fun with it.
yeah,
We were all sort of collaborating. We were all friends, and but it was a whole different environment. There was none of this quarantined. Everybody's scared to
yeah,
talk to one another. You can't even
yeah.
compare the two periods. But all in all, it was just a lot of fun to do that, and we did not overthink the songs. I mean, we at one point, I think our bass player was joking the other day, and he said, we were basically writing a song a week there for a while. And then the recording, we actually went up to Baltimore to Jay Robbins' studio.
Mm.
Incredible room he's got there. Some really cool stuff. Clutch is recorded there.
Oh,
Texas
nice,
is the
yeah,
reason, things like that. And
yeah.
it's got this amazing main room that you don't even have to do anything. You walk in and set up, bang the drums, and they sound incredible.
Right,
There's
yeah,
just natural reverb in there.
yeah, everything's
And so we drove all the way up there from me and Greenville and the other two guys in Western North Carolina, and we rented a house all week. And it's just like we just lived we lived our best lives, as they say.
there you go.
We had a
Yeah.
great time. Jay is so easy to work with. This is actually the third time that I've worked with him, and he is just fantastic. One of the most creative people I've ever been around.
Yeah.
He has an incredible ear. And at the same time, he comes from Government Issue and Jawbox and more of the Discord punk rock scene.
Right.
So he really understands that, and he has this real uh he probably hate me saying this, but like this punk rock ethic, this honesty about his process.
Mm.
And there's just no BS. I mean, you have to know what you're
Right.
doing with him. There's no fixing, sitting there and fixing every little thing. I mean, we plugged our gear in. I'm not even sure I turned the knob. I plugged it in and we're going. So you better be ready to go.
Hey, man.
And
Yeah.
so I really like that. And that maybe is not what we initially saw for the album, but it ends up being exactly what we needed. And
Right.
it was just fun and it's organic and it sounds, relatively close to what we sound like live. I mean, a lot of times in previous bands, you go in, you layer rhythm guitars and or stack the rhythm guitars and everything.
Yeah.
We didn't do any of that. I mean, I think that there are two guitars, one on the left side, one on the right side, because I was doing two guitar parts because there would be, two guitar players eventually. And then there might have been a couple of parts where there was an overdub, like one overdub, but that was it.
Yeah.
A
Rest is
very
all you.
little
Yeah.
vocal doubling, and it just felt really fun, and we had a blast recording it. We were actually very sorry when the whole process was over. We did the
Yeah.
whole thing, and including setting up and getting sounds and all that. I think we did the whole thing in 6 days,
6 days.
something like that. Yeah, 7 days maybe.
Yeah.
We got there on a Saturday. We set up, and started probably that evening, and we were done Friday.
Yeah.
Um, so it was really fast. That really great time, and I think we'll all always have those memories of that as being favorite recording that we've all ever done.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I would imagine that it would be more proficient or more fun working with the band together in the same room as opposed to remote, like the
yeah.
pandemic, Because I know
Hmm.
a lot of people who did not like the pandemic because of that reason, you can't see nobody, can't throw ideas off each other right on the spot. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess that was the
It-
main reason why you love this Dismantle album.
yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I think that, and then just the actual production quality, because it was recorded in a real studio and not,
right. Not on Pro
Jay
Tools.
had to, yeah, Jay
Yeah,
had to beat it into submission. I think when he mixed the
yeah,
demos, he made it sound a lot better than it sounded when we
yeah,
first sent it to him.
yeah,
But this was just just a
yeah.
whole different thing. It's
Yeah,
difficult to even compare the two.
right. Yeah, I hear a lot of bad talking about Pro Tools, but I mean it's really the easiest editor or like
Yeah,
production tool software, right? I mean,
yeah,
is there anything better? Because I've heard of
not
like
to me.
Reaper, Fruit Loops, Pro Tools, and I don't know which
Hmm.
one's best, but I guess to
Pro
each
Tools
their own.
is what you're going to find in most of the studios, and there are
Yeah,
other things. There's
right.
Logic and Logic
Logic, yeah.
Pro and all that.
Yep, yep.
And but I've had Pro Tools for since the mid 2000s, so
Oh, so you're
I
used to
I
it,
I know it pretty well. Just it works for me. It works to do what I do and record ideas and record some vocals and things like that. And I don't do anything fancy. I certainly don't mix in Pro Tools or anything like that.
yeah,
But yeah, it's Pro Tools is great. I mean, you save a lot of time uh, by not having to rewind the tape
yeah,
every take that you do, and just
yeah,
think little things like that. Sure, there's all the purists of, okay, tape has a certain warmth, and
yeah,
all the whole thing. But yeah, Pro Tools is fine.
yeah. I want to ask you about your voice because I think you have one of the best voices in rock and
Oh,
metal history right now.
thanks.
I'm serious.
Oh wow,
And,
yeah.
and I just want to know, was it like a learning prospect or like did you know you could sing without even like
No,
no? Okay, okay.
no. Our first band, our last band rather, Throttle Rod, when we started in the '90s,
Yeah.
late '90s, and we had a PA that didn't work, so I didn't even know. Nobody knew what it was going to sound like, and it was just a big learning experience. And that's one of my favorite things about recording is each time I feel like I learn something, and
Yeah.
each time I get more confident, and I tweak my style a little bit. And but yeah, it's I'm never happy with any of that stuff. I always say, like, I wish I could do that again,
All right.
but
So
it's been a long process. I
so
mean, even
really
even
so really you're more like a perfectionist, right?
oh, big time.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure my bandmates,
Yeah.
current and
Like
prior, would probably agree to that.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I set the bar pretty high for myself, not for others. I just hope
Right.
that
Yeah.
I enjoy working with people that um set the bar high for themselves as well.
Right.
That's what one thing I like so much about our drummer.
Yeah.
Uh, that guy practices and analyzes his playing and gets frustrated if he feels like he's floating in time, and he really cares about his drums, which is cool.
Right. Which is awesome, because I like to work with people who are passionate about stuff, and I'm
Mm.
sure you
Yeah,
do too. And I feel like he is passionate about his craft, especially the drums, because that's the
yeah.
loudest guy in the room. Everybody can hear you. So
Hmm.
if a drummer messes up, that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. But vocals are tough. It's always it's a thing I like to do. I like to create that aspect of it, but it's frustrating, especially when you're playing guitar too. It's
yeah,
not easy,
right.
but I enjoy it, and I like using each song as a learning experience, and I try and get better each time.
Yeah. Uh, since we since we discovered you're a little bit of a perfectionist, I am too. So I'm not gonna brag on you too much. Uh, but so with creating music and any other kind of opportunity that you create, being a perfectionist as you are, how do you know when to actually stop and tuck it away, or like do you tuck it away and like come back with fresh new eyes, fresh new ideas, and I mean, do you just like, what's your? How do you
Yeah.
know when to stop? Is what I'm trying to. Yeah.
Historically, I don't know when to stop, but I've
Okay.
really worked on that. And like I was saying, when I said I try and treat most songs like a diary, and I make it a point to try and not overcook it. And it's one of those things, probably to some degree, is maybe I'm saying this, but maybe I don't actually do it as well as I'm saying.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's song by song, and
Okay.
I try. I for me, once it gets to the point where I'm putting vocals on something, I'll try it a number of ways. I have a weird process that I kind of go through to make sure it sounds good. Somebody taught me once to just hum things, and if it's sounding good when you're humming it, kind of go with that. I'll listen to it in my car, and so I probably with vocal melodies and everything, I probably still obsess over that a little bit,
Yeah.
but I'm not like when it comes to guitar parts and bridges. And if I think something feels good in the moment, I won't even come back to it unless somebody else hates it, and then by all
Okay.
means.
And then you go.
Um,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I don't know. It's a song by song, and so most of the songs were written in a very short period of time, but there were some exceptions, and there was one song. It was this second song on the record called Aviator, and that basic theme of that song, I have phone recordings, like voice memo recordings of that general idea back to like 2018,
Oh
you
wow.
know, and then it just never. I tried it in two different bands, and it just wasn't happening. And I tried it in this band, and it was like we got a song together, and I didn't love it. And one day I got kind of just fed up with it, and I went upstairs and I just basically took a sledgehammer to it and I simplified it. There's really, I don't even know if you call that a chorus. There's one chorusy type part in the song, and just kind of got rid of all the extra stuff that wasn't adding to the song. And I think it is much more fun to play now. But that's an example of something that maybe I let sit for years. I knew there was something there, but
Right.
we couldn't quite get it yet.
Yeah.
But most of the other stuff, from idea to finished song, we're usually pretty quick.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice. That's always the best thing, because
yeah,
if you don't overthink things, I think that's a lot better than over processing something, because
can be, yeah.
right, yes, it can be, or I mean, it can be, um, take time with a little bit of love and care for that one thing that
Hmm.
you're doing, yeah. So
And it's also kind of neat to look back, and if you write if you write a song at a certain time or a batch of songs at a certain time, you can kind of remember what you were feeling and thinking, and right or wrong, that's where you were,
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of neat to look back and think about.
Yeah. Yeah, because each song anybody writes, it has their own memories for that songwriter. Yeah.
Mm,
That's good.
yeah,
It can be good or bad, you know? Uh,
yeah, true.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, so as a band, what challenges have you faced as a metal band in today's music industry?
I think
Or
the biggest thing that the biggest challenge that we have, um, and this is probably the case with a lot of with all the bands that we've been in. Like, we never quite fit into any one thing. Like, we're always too metal for rock and too rock for metal,
yeah, yeah,
and so it's like, who do you play with, and how do you kind of have an audience when
right, yeah,
you're either not heavy enough or too heavy
right,
for
yeah,
people. And so we just kind of we don't really worry about that. It's just an observation, and we kind of laugh about it from time to time. Like, well, we're going to be the odd people on this bill, and
yeah. I think,
sometimes it works to our advantage, and sometimes it doesn't.
right, yeah, yeah. Well, I would say let your booker deal with that because your booker books you, right? So I mean, it's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Well,
that
we book ourselves right now,
oh,
so
okay. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Well, I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But we've always had the kind of mindset of, we'll play with anybody,
Anybody, right?
anywhere, kind of thing. It's not that, don't mistake what I'm saying. We don't think we're better than anybody. We just think we don't
No,
fit
right,
into a lot of places.
right. Yeah, yeah. Because
Um,
yeah, because my I agree with my co-host Blake, who can be here tonight, and he apologizes to you. Um, but he said, go see the opening bands because most times, like 9 out of 10 times, the opener is going to be 10 times better than the actual band you want to go see.
yeah,
And I agree to that because there's been times when I mean, opener is killing it better than the actual headliner. You know,
yeah,
so
yeah,
I totally agree with him.
yeah. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of, when you go see shows, try and catch all the
Yeah,
bands as well. And I try. It's very rare that I'll leave early. I've got to have something really important. If I've left your show early, it was because something important, something big was going on. But
right,
generally, I stay until the very end and
right.
watch all the bands. And Bo and I, who toured a lot together in another band, we were the last two people there very often in when watching bands play, and that's important to us, to support one another.
Right. Yeah. Is there any like memorable stories on the road you can remember so far, or have you all been like in the car
Um,
with each other? And
well, with Shun, we really haven't toured. We really haven't
okay.
done all that many shows.
Okay.
But yeah, plenty of stories that, if the other band, that's probably best I just keep to myself. But
Well, yeah, yeah. That's
yeah,
fair. That's
yeah,
fair. Yeah. All right. So we do have two more questions, and then we'll let you go. Um,
okay.
four bands. If okay, so if you had to do it like a Mount Rushmore with four bands of all time, your favorite four,
Mm.
who would it be?
And that's the worst question you could ask me, because
Oh no, I thought I thought the
I'll
Apple
tell.
question was the weirdest one.
Oh, so I won't say the four, but I'll just name four.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so I have to name Soundgarden.
Okay. So, yeah.
Um, let's see, four bands. See, now I'm just going back to the beginning.
I
I
know,
would
right?
have
Yeah.
to, I would have to name Metallica, uh, Master of Puppets, Kill 'Em All.
Yeah.
That's really when I started playing guitar.
Right.
Or I guess I probably heard about them a little bit later, but I went back and
Yeah.
you know some of that stuff was the first stuff I learned on guitar.
Yeah.
Um, gosh, I like really into
Okay, so you
uh,
got Soundgarden and Metallica. That's two. So we got
um,
two
I,
more.
I like Tool a lot.
Okay.
Um,
That's what it is.
you know who? There's a band. that I've been hip to since the beginning, but I've never been a big. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'll go ahead and say what I was going to say.
Okay.
But I've never been a. Well, I was never a huge fan, but I like them more and more over time. It's like I get them more.
Yeah.
Is the Deftones, and I really was not the biggest fan
Yeah.
back when they first came out, and I think they kind of get better with every album.
Yeah.
But there was an important one that I. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
But there was an important one that maybe I should have mentioned, and it just dawned on me, is when I heard things like Helmet, Quicksand. Quicksand was a big one for me. That changed my life. That changed the trajectory of what I thought that I liked, and I liked that kind of post-hardcore kind of thing, but still melodic that Quicksand had to offer. So I would put them up there for me with one of my favorites. Um,
So
and you asked for four, and
I
I
did.
shouldn't do this, but
You can give me as
um,
many as you want to, but
yeah, but
um,
as I'm thinking more and more, I'm a big Melvins fan,
right.
Jesus
Oh yeah.
Lizard.
Yeah.
I'm a Jawbox fan. I'm a Morphine fan.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, I mean, those are some of the things that we all like a lot of different kind of music.
Right. Which is
Um,
good. You know.
yeah.
Good. Yeah. Going back to the Deftones, though.
Mm,
Yeah, man, that band is like it's like a you either love them or you hate them. There's no in between
yeah.
with them, you know. And
Yeah.
I do agree with you. They make better records. But I will fight you to this day saying that White Pony is the greatest album of all time. You know,
Mm,
I mean
mm,
that's
yeah.
just a killer album. You know, with so
Yeah.
many good feelings and emotions and melodies and just the way that the whole album is mixed. You know,
It's incredible.
yeah,
Yeah. It's funny you bring that album up. One time I was in Brooklyn recording an album, different band, and the producer there, the guy's incredible, and never would have ever in a million years taken him for a Deftones fan. And but every morning, I guess it was,
yeah,
he would put that record on to sort of test the sound system. He had so much respect for it, and I
yes,
think that's kind of when my ears started perking up. I was like, really?
right, yeah,
Like, wow, that's pretty good.
yeah,
Um, so,
yeah. Okay, so we have one more question for you, and are
all
you
right.
ready to hit me a lot more? Because I'm gonna give you,
Oh,
because I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna reach you on the
this is
26th
great.
of this month, so you can slap me in the face
27th.
if you want to. 27th, thank you.
Yeah.
I do have it written down, 27th,
Yeah.
in New Brooklyn Tavern. So you can make me buy you beer or something. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. But okay. So the last question is, I ask everybody this. Okay,
Hmm.
one song. Well, let's narrow down to two now. Song, band, or artist, or album that you can listen to, but you can't tell me, your wife, your kids, your bandmates how it makes you feel inside your soul. It's you have so many emotions, like you can't explain it how it makes you feel.
Oh,
Yeah,
so just one song
you could
that
do you could do two or three songs, you know, as many as you want to give. I
hmm,
just one song because it's
yeah.
because I
So
know
something that
that I have like two or three songs that when I hear 'em, I can't really tell you how it makes me feel, and I
mhm,
cry with one song alone.
mhm.
Just so powerful.
I would say the very first thing that comes to mind, only because I mentioned the band a minute ago, is there's a Morphine song called "The Night,"
Okay.
and it's the last album that they recorded before he died, and I would listen to that song after shows on the road in the middle of the night,
Mm.
and it just did something to me. But yeah, there are times where I get teary eyed over it, and
Yeah.
it's just something, and I don't know why. It's just
Right.
something
Right.
that grabs
Yeah.
me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean there's plenty of examples. That's just the first one that came to mind because I really hadn't thought about that song in a while.
Oh, makes you want to back and listen to it, right? Yeah. Which is
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
Which is great. That's what we do here at When the Words Fail.
yeah.
Um, okay. So, your band, your website is, you don't have an official website yet, but anybody can go to Bandcamp/Shun. Is
Sh-
that the
Uh, Shun the band.
Shun the band?
So it's kind of like this. There's a bunch of bands called Shun, and we like the
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
the self-deprecating humor. So
Right.
Shun the band, and that's what all of our social medias are.
Okay. Perfect. We're on
Facebook,
TikTok, Facebook.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, so we have you can go to, I think it's like Deezer, Spotify, Apple Music, a lot more to
Hmm.
hear music from Shun. Specifically Shun, which was 2021, and Dismantle, which you can download some songs now, but the full album comes out in 2 days from now, which is the 19th. This might be
That's
a
right.
little bit after the 19th, so pick up the album, download it, go to the store, buy it. You've been awesome. So we honestly do thank you for coming on the show. And I can't wait to see you on the 27th of
27th.
this
Yes,
month
you
on
got it.
New Brooklyn Tavern. Yes, sir. So yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna
so
be fun.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Because I'm dying to see what it looks like. Because I've never, I don't know where it is. you know.
Mm,
Hopefully my
mhm.
GPS can take me there. So
Yeah,
awesome.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir. And with that said, everybody listening, thank you for listening. And always remember, when words fail, music speaks. Bye, guys.